Welcome. Thank you for coming out this morning on this beautiful Saturday. Do I still look like that? That picture's 10 years old. Because I don't like to get my picture taken. So when I'm 90, we'll still have this picture over here. This week, I just moved to Palm Springs. So now the issue of the drive from LA is not an issue. Just took that right out of the equation. It was reminding me that this morning we're going to talk about activating the magical universe. And as I was driving here, I was thinking about the first time that I moved to Palm Springs was after I had started lecturing here in 2000 something. So then like about 2 years later, I moved to Palm Springs. And at that time, most of you know about vision boards or have vision boards. And I have not so much vision boards as just stuff everywhere. So just everywhere. If there's an empty space, then I'm gluing a picture on it and an affirmation and a whatever. So I have them kind of everywhere. And there was some of the free sort of gay magazines around town. I would cut out pictures, of guys that I thought were attractive to put along with my affirmations and my, all this stuff. And there was this guy who was, I guess it was an ad for one of the bars, and he was a bartender at one of the bars. But anyhow, as I was getting ready to move to Palm Springs, what I tend to do when I move is I just get rid of everything, start all over again. Because it's just easier that way. Just take all this crap and we'll start over again. So I had sent out an email to people saying, who were on my email list, just saying, all this stuff is available, and there's a bed, and there's a dresser, and there's a this, and there's a that. And so I'm in my little cottage, and I hear this knock on the door, and I open the door, and it's that guy. The guy from the bar. He's like, now I don't know him from Adam, but he's like, well, my friend so-and-so said that you're having a yard sale tomorrow, but I'm working tomorrow, so I thought I would drop by today and see if this was available or not. And he wanted the bed, and within 5 minutes, he was rolling around on my bed. And I was like, this shit works. That's amazing. Now you can activate the magical universe. So how do you activate the magical universe? You just think a thought. That's all. It's activated all the time. We're oftentimes trying to activate the universe. And if there's nothing else that you get out of today, I want you to just start to breathe in the idea. I won't say you, we'll say I, as we would in an affirmation. I am the magical universe. To really understand that you are the magical universe. That it is not something outside of you that you're trying to get to cooperate. We often think there's me and the universe. Like I'm trying to get the universe on board with this plan of mine. But that's why I was saying in the meditation, the recognition that the universe is a friendly force. And really, it is in alignment with whatever it is that you're thinking about, even if what you're thinking about is a lot of horse shit. It doesn't argue. The universe doesn't argue, right? And so activating the universe is you just think a thought. And all manifestation, by the way, is instant. When Terry Cole Whitaker used to talk about instant manifestation, that was so hard for me to imagine what it would be like to instantly manifest. But that's really a misunderstanding of what that means when we think in terms of instant physical manifestation. Because what it is as soon as you think it, you have manifested it in your own experience. So you're experiencing it now, whether it ever happens or not. That's why a lot of times physical things that are happening, that have physically manifested, haven't manifested for you, because you're not experiencing it even though it's happening. When I look at this move to Palm Springs, it was such an easy move, except in my story. I haven't been experiencing it totally as easily as it really is in reality, because I have a story about it being stressful, even though it's not. You see what I mean? You can instantly manifest a stressful move that's really easy. Because the reality doesn't go with, your story is all that matters, really. What's happening is, in many cases, irrelevant. Because what we're really experiencing is just what's going on in our mind, what we're saying to ourselves about what's happening. And so every step of the way, I'm not even finished with this move, but every step of the way, it's just been like one thing after another of just the door opening, and it's just easy and effortless, and me not reacting well to it at times. Have you ever done that? You're just surprised at what an asshole you are. Like, I don't mean, but you know what I mean? Yesterday, one of the things that happened, people have stories about, certainly the utility company, and certainly people have stories about Time Warner. They do, because you can just look it up on the internet. But, there'll be all these blogs about Time Warner. But, so I have Time Warner in West Hollywood. I still am in both places. So but I'm actually living in Palm Springs, so I'm driving back and forth. But I have Time Warner there, which has been great, and I have Time Warner in Palm Springs. Now, when I was moving now here's the crazy thing too. The apartment that I'm moving into in Palm Springs, get this, is the exact same apartment I moved out of 5 years ago. What I did not like about that apartment was the kitchen, which they have now remodeled while I was gone, because that's how the universe works for me, okay? So everything I didn't like about it, they fixed in the 5 years since I've been gone. So I moved back into the exact same apartment I moved out of 5 years ago. And so when I went into the office, and it's like a complex, and they have people there all the time because there's a lot of people moving in and out and stuff, and they said, well, we have, and I had asked about the cable, and they said, well, we have this guy from Time Warner, and I was like, this seems weird. What do you mean you have a guy? Well, we have a guy, like you can call this guy, and he will do it, he's our guy. And so I looked, and it was Time Warner Concierge. Have you heard of this? Okay, get this shit. All right, so this is so fantastic. Because those of you who've been around for a while know that, and most of you probably have read the Abraham material. Ask and it is given. For a long time, that was one of the required reading things that I had. And so in that particular set, or that particular book, Ask and it is given, they talk about the universal manager. And that law of attraction is the universal manager, and that we work too hard in our creations by doing everything ourselves when you can turn it over to the universal manager. And so I didn't like that, sounded too businesslike to me, so I changed that to the cosmic concierge. Right, because a concierge, like they pick up your dry cleaning, they do all that stuff. So I want a cosmic concierge. So it was so funny when they said, here's your Time Warner concierge. I was like, that's crazy shit. So what you do is you call this guy, and I did it. I called this guy. They don't give you a 4-hour block. They give you an hour block. We'll be there on this day. What do you want? And we'll get you this deal. And we'll be there on Friday between 10 and 11. So now, yeah, that was yesterday. So I woke, I had a pounding sinus headache. The fires are going on over there. There's ashes falling. It's like I moved to hell, and I love it. Love it. But yeah, there's ash in the sky. It makes such a nice sunset. But anyhow, it's very, very hot there. And I had this pounding sinus headache. But I was waiting. And so I'm getting in there. And as you see, I'm dressed. Now I'm in Palm Springs. I'm going straight for tracksuits now. I'm in Palm Springs. This is just the interim step before the caftan. I'm just waiting for Mr. Turk to start designing caftans, and then I will be in a caftan from then on. So right now, this still gives me the, like I could go to a restaurant like this at least. But I like to be naked in Palm Springs. So yesterday was all about nakedness and Time Warner. So I was getting in the shower at 9, and there's this knocking on the door, and I moved everything that I thought was the most important, and then for the last 3 days, everything I've gone to get is in LA. So along with that were robes. So I'm getting in the shower, and bang, 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 so I just throw in a towel and open the door. It's the Time Warner concierge. He's like, I'm an hour early, is it okay? I'm like, when does that ever happen? I'm an hour early. I'm like, okay, give me a second. I'll get dressed. Da, da, da. So I get dressed. He comes in. He does he sets up the Wi-Fi. He sets up the cable in the bedroom and the DVR in the living room and all this stuff. And then he leaves. And I'm like, oh, okay. He's gone. He's gone, like way before he would have been gone. Otherwise, now I can just drug myself into oblivion. So I took 2 Excedrin PM and again, naked, threw myself into bed. Like a half hour later, I open the door. It's a different Time Warner Cable dude. This Time Warner Cable dude goes, I'm here to check on the other guy's work. What? I'm sure I seemed like I was completely, because I was, like I said, I was drugged out of my mind, and I was like, blah, 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 blah. So he comes in and, oh, he ran the cable here. Did you okay that? Yes, I asked for it. Can I take a picture of it? Yes, I could take a picture. He's taking pictures of all this stuff is like, and I'm irritated by all of this until later when I'm like, the universe is just opened every door and made everything as easy as it could possibly be while I react badly. But that's the manifestation. The mind is the playground. The mind is the playground. And it's the place where we play as happy children or we engage with the bully. That's basically the way mind operates. And so I've had to just keep checking myself. One of the things that I've been taught, I had started at the beginning of the year talking about how I've become obsessed with abundance and prosperity. Because after so many years of all of this, I knew for sure it wasn't money. So I wanted, what is the experience of abundance and prosperity? And so we've talked about this a lot, that it is absolutely a feeling. It is a feeling of connection to infinite resources. That's what abundance and prosperity is. It has nothing to do with how much money is in the bank or in your pocket at any given time. Because there are people with $20 million who, if you sat down with them and heard what they were saying, they would sound like the poorest people in the world. Like they were just, I'm going to be out on the street in 5 seconds, right? And you could sit down with somebody else who has 50 cents, and they're just going from thing to thing, enjoying this event and that event, and living just a wonderful life, and they don't have any cash at all. So I knew for sure that abundance was about a fearlessness around the idea of resources. So now lately I've become completely obsessed with love, because what I know is that love is not a hug or a feeling. And in spiritual circles, it's very important that we say that, because people in spiritual groups think that love is a feeling and a hug. And the feeling that people think about in terms of love is just affection. And affection comes and goes. Affection is nice, but affection comes and goes. You cannot count on affection, because affection is based on your mood. What is more unstable than your mood? So affection, and that's why we always talk about a mother and her children. A mother doesn't always feel affection for her child, but she loves the child. Sometimes she wants to strangle that kid, right? But you don't say, she doesn't love him anymore. Because love is a doingness. It's a way of being in the world. It's how you show up. It's not based on a feeling. Like a mother who is in their right mind anyhow is not going to say, well, Johnny was such a little shit this morning at breakfast that I'm not going to pick him up after school. Because I don't feel like it. I don't really feel like I love Johnny right now. He's going to have to tough it out at kindergarten on the way home today. Right? That's not what love is. Love is I'm not gauging what I feel like, If you're in a long-term relationship, you don't always feel affection for your mate. That doesn't mean you don't love them anymore, but you also might wait till they turn their back so you can go. You still love them, but you're just not thrilled with them right now, right? So that love is more than that. One of the things, I say, I feel the love here because it's acted on. It's acted on. I've been doing this. I've been teaching for 30 years now. 30 years of teaching. So I've taught a lot on my own and a lot with groups. And what you see is that there is nothing in the universe cheaper than talk. People can say all kinds of shit. Doesn't mean anything. People can say they love you, love you, love you, love you. But here, it's demonstrated. Like John, John kept saying, come down to San Diego. And I kept kind of saying, shut up, I'm not coming down to San Diego. I don't want to drive, nah. But he just kept asking. He didn't take it personally. He just would ask. And he just kept asking until I realized it was just my resistance to driving down there and not seeing that that was the open door that I'd been treating for. Right? You're treating for an open door, and the door keeps opening. You go, not that door, that's not a door. Right? But he was saying, well, we love you here, and da-da-da-da. Now, but see, I don't pay any attention to stuff like that, because people say shit like that all the time, especially in spiritual groups. Some of the worst things that we do in the world are done in the name of love, right? But there was action behind it. You know, those of you who saw the cover of this was because of Patty and Larry and John. This was their saying, we love you, and we want people to know that you're here. So there's an action to it, right? There's something that happened. There's a demonstration that says, this is what we love you, so this is what we're doing, right? Because people say they love you all the time. You tell, well, you sure never did anything for me. It's interesting because there's nothing easier than to say, blah, 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 blah. Right? So when we look at our lives and we're looking at love, love is the meaning to everything. Law is what activates the manifestation of things. But without love, the things that are manifested are meaningless. So what we want to do when we are activating the magical universe is to activate it from love. Because we're activating it all the time. It's just, are you activating it from fear? Or are you activating it from love? So that's why one of the things that I teach people to do is to make daily lists instead of just saying what I'm grateful for, because that can become spiritual, and I'm really not spiritual. I'm post-spiritual. Because the spiritual people ruined spirituality, just like the religious people ruined religion, and the Christians ruined Christ. So a lot of times what I say is, you know, sometimes your gratitude list then just becomes like a rote mental checklist. So I will say instead, write down every day a list that says what I love. Because that begins to activate the love vibration. Let me read a little, one of my favorite people. I'm so old school now. I'm such a dinosaur. I'm such a dinosaur. But dinosaurs are big. Jurassic Park opened as the #1 movie of all time. So dinosaurs are big, but I'm a dinosaur. In fact, somebody sent me an email recently. You know how people are always trying to sell you crap. Somebody's trying to sell me an updated website, because I do my website myself. That way I can change it all the time. And someone sent me things saying, well, you should do it because your website is old-fashioned. I said, yeah, like it was written on a cave wall. Or it's on parchment scroll or something. Like, but this is Catherine Ponder, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. I'm just really all about Ernest Holmes and Catherine Ponder and Joel Goldsmith and mostly dead people. None of the Oprah spiritual celebrities. How to generate love. If you will analyze this thing called love, you will discover that life is a process of giving and receiving love in its many phases, and that it is those individuals who are not living in the stream of love that feel its lack as a difficulty in mind, body, or affairs. Through the deliberate development of love, you can get into a stream of life's goodness as well as help others to experience. Is it not wonderful to realize, as did the Harvard scientists, that you no longer have to look outside yourself, waiting and hoping that somehow, at some future time, perhaps love will find you? You can begin now deliberately generating love for God, for yourself, and for mankind from within your own being. By doing so, you will unfailingly draw the perfect expressions of love into your own life. I've discovered that some people feel guilty about their desire for love in its many phases, thinking that they should suppress that desire. The time has come for you to realize that you should express the desire from love, from within out toward God, yourself, and your fellow man. A loving father can only do for you what he can do through you. It is through your own thoughts, feelings, and expectations that love is born. As you deliberately express love, it comes back to you multiplied. Take conscious control of your thoughts and feelings and begin now to develop an impersonal consciousness of love, knowing that it is the quickest way to solve your own problems, as well as a powerful way of helping mankind. You can do this in a very simple way. Begin spending a few minutes each day deliberately generating love. In those times, affirm, with God's help, I am now deliberately and joyously radiating divine love to myself, my world, and to all mankind. Ask daily that divine love be made alive in you. Form the mental picture of yourself as a healthy, prosperous, illumined, harmonized, blessed, unfettered, and unbound. Quietly love that mental picture by affirming, I let divine love now be made alive in me. The world is aching in loneliness in a world full of people. This is insane. Have you noticed they keep making people? They're just everywhere. They just keep popping out over and over and over, and people are lonely. This is completely insane. Remember, you're the one. No one is coming. No one's on the way. No one has your file. There's no one coming to save you. You're the one. It's like, we always say, Ian Levan Zant saying, save yourself, right? Save yourself. You're the one. So we generate love. We're waiting to be loved, but it doesn't matter how many people love you. If you haven't generated within yourself, you won't feel it. Because if it's not consistent with your vibration, you just will, somehow you will either look right past it or you will invalidate it when it comes, right? They'll just be loving you, loving you, loving you, loving you, loving. There's that book that's been like on the bestseller list off and on for like 1 million years, The 5 Love Languages. Have you seen that? That talks about all this Christian therapist wrote this book, The 5 Languages of Love, because he said he had spent all these years counseling these married couples who would sit together and each would point at the other and say, she doesn't love me, he doesn't love me. And the other one would say, I do this and this and this. But what the issue was the other person did not perceive that as loving. Because people like somebody was a gift person. So that meant that the way they received love was in gifts. So if you complimented them, that didn't mean anything to them. They didn't care about that because it didn't even matter the gift. Just flowers, or I saw this, glass on the beach, or it didn't even matter the gift. It was just that I thought about you, I went out of my way, all of that stuff. So there are so many ways in which we're invalidating all the time the love that comes in because it's not consistent with our consciousness. So if we take responsibility for generating love within ourselves first, right, it's my job to love myself. Now, that is also not a feeling. You're not waiting to have affection for yourself, right? That's the Louise Hay mistake of where Louise tells you to look in the mirror and say, I love you. And most of us have tried that and been like, what the hell? I love you. I really, really love you. It's like, it just feels weird. Now, it's interesting. The apartment. Oh, I wonder why I don't get invited places. Anyhow, doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. This apartment that I have moved back into, this was the place where I married myself. Because, and this is one of the things that they remodeled, but when I lived in this apartment originally, the kitchen and the dining area and the living room all sort of are kind of one area, and the whole wall that runs the length of it was just floor to ceiling mirror. So I saw myself all the time because I work at home. And so every time I would look up, it would be like, there he is. God, there he is. I mean, and so I had started out in Terry Cole Whitaker days with a lot of self-loathing because I was raised Catholic and that's part of the curriculum. Oh God, I am heartily sorry for having offended thee, and I detest all my sins, for I am unworthy, blah, 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 blah. So there you are trained from a very early age to hate yourself. It's holy. So I despise myself like any good Catholic does. And I had learned through many, many years of just working on myself and all of this stuff that I no longer hated myself. Now I just saw myself with mild contempt. Like a roommate that you're not crazy about, but you've learned to live with. So that was sort of how I felt about myself. So I would see myself in the mirror and go, oh, there he is again. God, he's let himself go. It's like, what? It's like, well, now what? So I realized at a certain point, this is another thing that Terry used to say. She said, when I realized that I was going to be with myself for eternity, I was so depressed. So, because you're going to be with yourself for eternity. You are never, ever going to get away from you. Even if you kill yourself, you will just wake up on the other side with you. So there's no ever getting away from you. So I thought, well, God, I just should probably make friends then. Since this is just going to be me forever. And so I thought, well, now, if I met somebody who like this is my soulmate, then there are certain things that you do and you don't do. So I thought, well, I just have to treat this guy then like I would treat my mate. Because love is an action, right? It's what you're actually doing. I don't have to feel this way to act a certain way. See, that's our problem, is we feel like, well, I have to be authentic to my feelings. Please don't. Oh, please don't. That's the problem with the world too much, is that people are acting based on what they feel like doing, right? Because, like I said, you can change your feelings, right? There's things like, well, I can't do that. If someone had a gun to your head, you'd do it. So clearly the decision is within your own mind. It's just how motivated are you, right? So I realized, well, I have to treat myself in a certain loving way, even though I don't feel love for myself. If you imagine that, let's say, for me, it would be like if Jesus was coming over. Would you say to Jesus, just eat out of the can? We're not fancy here. Yes, I threw the cake in the garbage, but there's parts of it that aren't touching anything. You can eat that out of the garbage. It's not a big deal. Just eat it. Right? It's a way that you treat yourself, right? Like, you might not even be in the mood to see Jesus today, but you would straighten up if he knocked on the door. You wouldn't say, like, not now. You'd be like, oh, well, okay. So I just realized I have to marry myself and then treat myself in a certain way regardless of what I feel like. Because what begins to happen is if you act that way long enough, the feeling comes later. The feeling comes later. That's so oftentimes why in the past arranged marriages worked. Because people didn't expect to have the feeling right away. Right? There was something bigger going on there. Right? For many, many, many years, you needed a mate. Because life was too hard. I even think about my mother. What it took, you couldn't be like, it would have been almost impossible in many ways to do things by yourself when you considered how long it took to do just wash. And then put it through the wringer and then hang it up and like to make food like my grandmother, because my mother and father were like my grandparents. It could have been my grandparents. So then my grandparents were like really old. So my grandmother had an outhouse and all that kind of stuff. So it's like she could never have had a job and done all of that stuff. What it took to make a meal. You couldn't there were no drive-through windows. There was no, all that stuff. So you needed, so the idea was the relationship was about something bigger than a romantic feeling, right? So a lot of times we're waiting to love ourselves till we feel like we deserve it, or we've gotten over this weight issue, or we've gotten over this money issue, or we've forgiven ourselves for that thing that we did 20 years ago. Instead of saying, I'm just going to act my way into it. I'm just going to fake this marriage with myself, right? I may feel disgusting this morning. I may hate myself this morning, but I'm going to say, hello, sunshine. I'm just going to start there. And that's what my daily sheets are about, is where I got it right, what went right, why today is a great day, that we're programming our minds all the time, right? You program your mind before you get to the playground, right? This is the direction that we're going. We're going to move in this direction. These are the things we're going to activate today, because whatever I think is going to get activated in me. Right? Again, this whole move has just been because I began aligning for the move long beforehand. Of the feeling, I didn't even know that I was going to Palm Springs. But I was aligning for it all the time of like, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, it's going to feel like this, and it was really the feeling. And so that's just been happening, and then I watch how I'm not always in the mood to just be super grateful and appreciative and to notice what the universe is doing. But I'm on myself, right? I'm on myself. This is why I always tell people, at least once a week, look in the mirror and say, I'm on to you. On to you. I know how you will try to ruin this shit. Given half a chance, so I'm watching you. I'm watching you, okay? So I watch myself how, like, all of these things, I mean, even the apartment complex that I live in Los Angeles, I don't even know how many units are, because it's a whole city block. And it's multiple buildings. And there's hundreds of people there. And there are people who have lived there for 30 or 40 years since it opened. And there's 3 people in the manager's office 6 days a week from 9 to 6. To take care of all the shit that goes on there all the time, all the endless maintenance and cleaning and the stuff that goes on there all the time, all the time, all the time. And I am the favorite tenant. And I know that because everyone says so. The residents, the manager, the assistant manager, everyone. Here's the favorite tenant. Here's the favorite. Why? I'm God's favorite. Right? This is the attitude you have to have about yourself, right? Because I haven't earned it. I haven't done anything, right? So I stress myself out needlessly about, the move, what I'm going to do with all this stuff I have and all my furniture and my this and my that. And then I put out an email saying, to like this small group of people who come to my Tuesday night class saying, I'm giving away most of my furniture, which a lot of it was new. I said, and you can just have it. Like, you just have it. I never sell shit. I always give it away. I said, you can just have it. I said, but I am not going to even lift a finger to carry a pillow. So you're on your own about how you get it. Like, you have to come in here, and I'm just going to stand there. I'm not doing anything. That's the deal, is I will do nothing. Okay? So this had been weighing on me for a while. And one of the people from there just said, okay, I'll take the sofa, and I'll take the desk, and I'll take the coffee table, and I'll take those lamps, and I'll take this picture, I'll take that, and took the podium from the classroom, and took all this stuff, and he hired movers, because when it's all free. Now, the interesting thing is this guy and his husband, his mother was living with them for like the last year or two. She just moved out days before, and they said, I want to redecorate the apartment, but we don't really have the money to do it right now. And boom, there comes the email, the magical universe. Ask and it is given. How open are you? So they said, we want it. The next day they get the email from me. I say, I won't do anything. They come over, they take it all. Then I have all this extra stuff I don't know what to do with. And the manager said, whatever you don't want, just leave it. Well, on my bed, it's going to be heavy. Should I take it out of the curb? All the guys do it, leave it. What about the chairs for the classroom? I'll take them. Everything, so easy, so easy, so easy. But let one little thing catch my attention of like, this is stressful. We're such liars. We are such liars. The years ago when we were doing the Byron Katie work, where I caught myself where I was going, I'm overwhelmed. This is overwhelming to me. I'm overwhelmed. And then I went, actually, I'm perfectly whelmed. But I was walking around for a whole day saying how overwhelming it was while I was doing it. Where that came from was Byron Katie talking about, she said, how people will say, I can't go on as they go on. We're such liars, right? We're oftentimes affirming things that are clearly not true that make us feel bad. Well, if you're going to affirm something that's not true, why don't you affirm something not true that makes you feel good? I'm the favorite child. I'm the most loved, right? Just go with that. All deniers are invisible to you. Right? I want to read from this book, Joel Goldsmith. This was another one that was required reading for a while. Living by Grace by Joel Goldsmith. How many people have read Living by Grace? It's so funny. It's such a tiny little book. I had a harder time getting people to read this than any of the other books. And some of the other books were great big books. There were people who said, it took me a year to read that book. It's so hard for people to read this because it's about letting go of control. That's not really an American thing, right? They don't erect statues to the guy that gave up control and manipulation. Right? Now here's the hall of go with the flowers. You don't see any of that, right? That's un-American, right? What we do is here's the guy that died on the battlefield, right? Trying to make it happen. The last, holding on to the bitter end. So this was hard for people, the idea of, in fact, there's a whole big set, well, I don't want to upset everyone too much. We'll just stick with this. It'll be upsetting enough for some of you. For some of you super spiritual types, this will be very, very disturbing. So take a deep breath. All right. Evaluating one's spiritual progress. There is a way of evaluating what degree of progress we are making on the spiritual path. It is not by noticing how much more spiritual we feel, or how better we are behaving, or how much more virtuous we are. These are not the signs. We can evaluate our spiritual progress by our reactions to what is presented to us in the pictures of the world. Did you get that? By how we react to what we see in the world. For example, the more that we realize that temporal power is not power, the less we fear war or the threat of war. That is one sign of spiritual progress. Another is reacting with less horror or fear to the sins and diseases of the world. You also show your own spiritual progress as you realize that supply is spiritual and react with less horror or pity to the seeming lack of food and necessities in the impoverished countries of the world. You not only show your progress, you also help to remove lack and limitation. The last enemy to overcome is death, which may be only a fear of the unknown. At some time or other, we must overcome the fear of death by realizing that it is not actually death. It is a transition into a different state of experience. Regardless of what the appearance may be, we do not die. We simply make a transition into another phase of life, much like a larva becomes transformed into a butterfly. Now, this is big, because spiritual people want to get horrified if there's a shooting somewhere. People want to get upset about the things of the world and say that's spirituality. It's not. It is the old human fear, run rampant. He's not saying that you have heartlessness. You understand that it's sad, not for the people who die. It's not sad for them at all, because they have not died. But of course it's sad for the friends, the relatives, the people there. That is sad. But if we get into, see, Jesus said, fear not. In the world you will have tribulation, but I have overcome the world. He didn't say, in the world you will have tribulation, but fear not because I've legislated it away. I've made more gun control, and therefore, fear not about the tribulation in the world. Right? There are a lot of, this is why I say this so often, and I'm going to say it over and over and over again as long as I have breath in me to say it, is we have to say to ourselves regularly, I either believe this shit or I don't. There are lots of people in New Thought who don't believe it at all, have no belief in it whatsoever. What they believe in is hope and charitable acts, which is not New Thought. It's fine, but you should be a social worker then. You should go and work for the county as a social worker or a lawyer or something else, but that's not New Thought. It's not even spirituality. Now, what we need in social work are New Thought people. Right? So they're not mutually exclusive. But you have to understand that when you're upset and disturbed about what's happening in the world, whether it's a water shortage or a fire or anything else, it just proves how much you don't believe this stuff. How much you actually still live in hope it's going to be okay. There is no hope. All hope is lost, thank God. All hope is lost. This is what I love about the philosophy, is that it's hopeless. That's what I love about it, is that it's hopeless. Hope is a bitch. She is a horrible mistress here to ruin your relationship. Hope is always that thing of, later I might be happy. If things work out exactly the way I want them to, because hope is specific. Hope is not general. Hope is specific. You hope a specific thing happens. Hope is that the cancer will be gone. Right? It's not, see, that's not new thought. Understanding that all is well means that it doesn't matter if the cancer thrives, because that's just the door you leave this world by. That's all. Everybody's going. By the way, incidentally, everyone's ticket is stamped, okay? It's not like, oh, some of you are going. We're all headed out, and there's no award for who stayed longest. Right? We act like she was here to 104. So, and could have been 104 miserable years. We don't know, right? She spent 104 years tormenting generation after generation of her children. Resisting love every step of the way, right? There's no award for how long you stay, right? And there's no, better way to go. Right? We think there's a better way. If you ever watch any of those psychics, everyone who comes through always says the same thing. Everyone says the same thing. They're okay. It wasn't painful. They're whatever. No one says, they want to say, what they want to say, ah! No one, that's not, but there's no, right? I mean, that would be great if somebody would say that, but some psychic Sylvia Brown would have been the kind who would have said that. But they all say the same thing, which is like, no, it was okay, and they made the transition, and they're fine, and it's all good, right? And that's the thing. Abraham will say this all the time. They'll say, you people are still messed up over this death thing. You still don't get this death thing. And they say, we are as dead as it gets. And we're here talking to you right now. So this idea so you get to where you either believe it or you don't. And if you don't, listen, if you don't really believe this shit, you should be doing something else. Because this is a fringe movement for weirdos. We are weird fringe people. You could be doing something way more fun than this if you don't really believe this shit, right? I mean, there are people in New Thought who don't like to believe this is a fringe movement. This is a wild, wacky fringe movement. Even with all the Oprah and all the bestsellers, I did live in West Hollywood up until a very short period of time ago, where, all this stuff was born in LA for the most part. That's the fruit capital of the world for New Thought stuff. This was, Ernest Holmes and Neville Goddard and all these people from this place. So it's been there forever and it thrives there. And yet, I was at the restaurant I go to all the time. I had showed this cover to one of the waiters there who's 30-something years old, and he grew up in Northern California. He lives in West Hollywood. He's gay. He's been around. He'd never seen or heard of Deepak Chopra. Most people don't know any of these people. If you go into general population, almost the only person that anyone has ever heard of is Wayne Dyer because of the PBS specials. Nobody else in the country knows these people. Not really. Just the tiniest. These people are Eckhart Tolle, although even when if you just walk down the street and ask people who Eckhart Tolle is, 99.999% of the people would say, I don't know, is it candy? I don't know what that is. They don't know any of these people. This is a fringe movement, right? So that's why I'm saying, if you don't really believe this, you should get the hell out and join a better club where they have a lot more tchotchkes. But if you really believe this, then this is the right place to be, right? To actualize this. Do I really believe that life is eternal and that we go on? Do I really believe that there's no hell? Do I really believe that our thoughts create our experience? Or am I constantly hedging my bets and hoping that this is true, right? Because even the idea of the difference between hope and optimism is huge. But people use those things interchangeably, but they're not interchangeable. Optimism is knowing that the outcome is good no matter what happens. Hope is something terrible might happen. There's a 50-50 chance. Optimism is there's no way for anything terrible to happen. It's not possible within the universe as I know it to be, because even if every single one of us was blown away in an explosion right now, we just meet up on the other side and go, whoo, that was like a roller coaster. Right? That you understand that you really understand that it is constantly that thing of, do I really believe this or not? You know? All right, so what else should I tell you? I'm going to read from my new book, Affirmations 101, which is available in the bookstore, as are all my books, I believe. So this is the 20th day of the month. I started it on. This is the way that I recommend people do it. It's 101 affirmations, daily affirmations. The way it starts is the affirmation. Then I have a little quote from wherever, the Course in Miracles or from Neville or from somebody. Then I write just a little essay about the particular affirmation. And then at the bottom, there's just like a little treatment that coincides with the affirmation. So today's affirmation is, which is just everything I was talking about, of course, because that's how it works, particularly with my move. Wonderful people are drawn to me, and we assist each other in truly helpful ways. So what I suggest to people who are doing the book, my books are all doing books, really. It's not about just, oh, that's nice, put that back up on the shelf. That, to me, is just useless, just absolutely useless. So this is my recommendation is that you read this in the morning, and you write out the affirmation 5 times. You write it out longhand 5 times, because an affirmation that you can't remember is a useless affirmation. So you want to write it out longhand 5 times, helps you remember it. You might even want to put it on a Post-it so you can carry it around with you during the day. Then you say it out loud 3 times, because those are different aspects of your brain. Writing is one part of your brain, speaking is another part of your brain, right? Then, like I said, you take it with you wherever you go so that you can think of it periodically throughout the day. So that day, that's your sort of dominant affirmation for the day. Okay, so then this is the quote from A Course in Miracles. What you perceive in others, you are strengthening in yourself. Then this is the essay. Whatever we believe in our hearts and minds about people will tend to be reflected back to us rather quickly in our external world. We waste a lot of time and energy trying to change people when the real miraculous alchemy takes place when we change our minds about people and about ourselves. Start by knowing that there's something wonderful about you and that you deserve all kinds of loving companionship in business, friendships, romance, family, and in your community. Know that these relationships will be mutually beneficial and enjoyable. Affirm that you bring out the best in one another and that you live in a consciousness of win-win. Refuse to hold a grudge. Refuse to be offended. Refuse to close your heart. Simply realize that not everyone is going to like you or be a vibrational match to you. Let go easily and with grace, knowing that you will meet those whom you will resonate best with and that only good lies before you. And this is the treatment. I honor my relationships with gratitude and appreciation, and I know that the ideal companions are drawn to me without struggle. Law of attraction is bringing to me those who are a match to the joy, peace, and love that are flowing from my consciousness today. It is flowing from me, and then that frequency is what I am seeing reflected in my world, right? I'm invoking it from within myself. I'm not invoking it from the universe out there. Remember, I am the magical universe. To start to think about yourself as the universe itself. I am the magical universe. I am that consciousness. I am that consciousness. I am activating that consciousness that I am. I am not seeking just sort of a reluctant being that I have to do a sales pitch on. This is why I need it. I had this little boy that my best friend Karen used to babysit for. It was actually her nephew. He would always, when he wanted his mother to give him whatever, he would always say, I need it for school. So it didn't matter what it was. It's a baseball. I need it for school. Okay, so we do that when we think there's a God outside of us. We're always doing a sales pitch. I want abundance, but I'm going to start to give some of it away. I'll do good stuff with it. I will save the needy, and we're always sales pitching. The universe does not have a personality. It's not a dude who's like, I don't like you. Right? The universe isn't going, what'd you do with the money I gave you yesterday? Greedy bastard. Like that's not what's happening. The universe, we are one with this infinite force, that we are activating this infinite force. All right. What else did I want to tell you? How am I doing with time? Okay, good. So here's one of the basic aspects of what I saw within myself during this time with this move. Well, I watched things unfolding and unfolding. What I saw with other people, like this was, again, this little group of people in my Tuesday night group. There's like, I don't know, there's only like 8 people or something all told, and they're not all there on the same night. I send out this email to these 8 people or whatever, and right away the guy writes back and says, well, God, we want this, and we're going to do the sofa, da-da. And then my friend Zan, people know about my friend Zan, emailed me after that and said, well, we really need a sofa, and we da-da-da-da. And so I said, it's too late, because Jesse already, he grabbed that sofa right out from under you. You were just a half an email late. You just grabbed that sofa out right out from under you. So that was, I don't know, one day. And then Tuesday night, we had our last meeting. I drove back from Palm Springs. We had our last meeting on Tuesday night. And so there was like 6 of us or something like that. And so I had 2 lamps. I had said to Zan, those blue lamps that you liked that I got, for the bedroom, do you want those? And she said, oh, absolutely. So she's getting up the lamps together. And then this other woman, Laura, was talking about moving. And she goes, and I have all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I have all these sofas. And I said to Zan, she's got your sofa. And they actually live each other, like far away in the Palisades from where I live. And so Laura said, well, why don't you just stop by the house on the way home now and you can look at them. And she had like 4 sofas or something, because she had a big house, and they were all like new custom-made sofas. And she's like, do you want this sofa or this sofa or this sofa or this sofa? It was like Zan, asking it is given. It's like sofa store. It's like, just like that, just like, okay, like that's how quickly, boom, 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 boom. So this is what I learned from all of this. This is the major lesson to get. If you can and if you have a notebook, jot this down. Your main part is to get out of the way. Get out of the way of the speeding universe. Just get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way. Now, when I say get out of the way, what I really mean is get out of your own way. Because we are most often the factor that messes it up. That we are in our own way. And not only are we in our own way, we're oftentimes belligerent about being in our own way. Right? One of the things I used to say, I haven't said this for a while, I say to people is, you can argue for your limitations everywhere but here. Feel free anywhere you want to go argue for your limitations, but don't bring it to me, because you'll be sorry. Because my response will not be to your liking. I have an old friend who I hadn't seen for a long time, for various reasons. We're not a vibrational match, okay? And so we started sort of hanging out again at the beginning of the year, and I said to her on the phone, I said, I have to say that the way my life is now, all of this conversation that you constantly are having where you're putting yourself down all the time and you think it's funny, I said, you're like you're way into your 50s now, and it's not cute. Like women who put themselves down, it's not funny or cute. It's not amusing, it's just so boring. I don't have time for it. It makes me sick. I don't want to hear all of your, shut up. Shut your pie hole. Shut up. It's not cute humility. Shut up. It makes me crazy. I won't be around it. And so, this is on the phone. And so we got off the phone. So then we were getting together, and I drove to her house, which is further down the coast. I drove to her house, and I was trapped with her. And basically trapped with her for the day, and I was going to spend the night. And it's the closest I've come to really just having a fight where I just stormed out of somewhere. Because she started in on why this was good for her to do this. It helped other people. It made them feel more comfortable around her. It gave them permission to be themselves when she admitted that she was all messed up, and her faults made other women feel more comfortable about their faults, and and why should you do it? And in my mind, I just went, I'm done. I'll never see you again. I'm done. But I'm stuck here with you, so I'll spend the night and smile. Because that's the loving thing to do. Because I don't want to have a fight with you, and I've already told you, and you've said that's not a deal for you, so we're done. As far as I'm concerned, we're done. I won't be around it because it's toxic. It bleeds into you. You've heard Maya Angelou talk about words or vibrations. They get into your carpeting and the fiber in your clothes and your hair, right? So I'm done. I'm absolutely done. I won't be around this toxic, poisonous mentality. And so that was right after Valentine's. It was the week after Valentine's Day. So she was getting the tapes occasionally. So like once a month she was sending a donation. So then I heard from her. She sent me an email saying, my finances are messed up in that last check that I sent you, and so I need to do this because I don't know what's going on with it. It's all sort of messed up, and I have to rearrange everything. Oh, and I have cancer. Well, we've said this a million times. When Carolyn May says, your biography becomes your biology. The words you speak instruct the cells of your body. When you are cursing yourself with your words and your attitude, it then bleeds into the cells of your body. The cells of your body then begin to say, oh, we hate ourselves. Well, what does cancer do? Cancer is just a cell. Cancer's not a bad, horrible thing. It's just doing its job. Its job is just to eat things up, right? So when you create an environment, whether it's criticism or fear or stress or anxiety, to me, disease 99.999% of the time is basically about stress. Just stress. So whether it's stress because you can be stressed when things are going really well and make yourself sick because you're stressed out because you're doing so much. So you're not taking care of yourself properly. So you get sick because you're doing too much, having too much fun, right? Not saying, oh, it's great to have fun and enjoy yourself, but then you have to get a massage, and you have to have some downtime, and you have to have some quiet, or all of that stuff. It's so stressful. What's more stressful than talking about what a mess up you are and how this and that? But she was also, and the whole day that we were together, it wasn't just about herself. She got in a fight with the valet. She got in a fight with the people at the store. She got in a fight. All of this, and always right about everything, just like she was right. Because I said to her, what I said when we were arguing was, I said, you know what? I should never have said that to you on the phone that day. You get to do whatever you want, and I don't do this with people, I said. I used to do this with my friends and stuff. I said, I should never have said that. What you're doing is fine. We just can't be together. That's all. That's all. There's no reason for us to be. You're not my sister. We're not in business together. Like, I don't want to come here and be in the midst of all this drama that goes on, right? Because she's a lovely, now here's the thing. She's one of those lovely people with a good heart, which is why she can't understand why things go so wrong, because she hurts for all the poor and the aching and the this and the that, and she's so good-hearted, right? Doesn't matter. The law works no matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're good-hearted or bad-hearted. It doesn't make any difference. This is the saying of the sun shines on the just and the unjust. It is all exactly the same, that the spiritual principle is completely ruthless. So it doesn't matter when the baby crawls off the roof. Gravity doesn't say, it's just a baby. we will not activate it, right? The laws activate no matter who you are or what you're doing. That's why Hitler used mental law. He was a big sort of what the word occult simply means hidden. And there's really no such thing anymore because nothing's hidden anymore because we have the internet. Right? You can go on the internet and see what the secret ceremonies that the Masons do and the Mormons do in their temples and all that. So there's no such thing anymore. But that's what a cult meant. A cult didn't mean evil or satanic, where people think that's what a cult is. A cult just means secret. So the Vatican is an occult society, although that's all a cult meant. But Hitler was somebody who studied the occult. So he studied all of these secret things, and he used them beautifully. See, this is what we have to understand, and this is what I was saying in the beginning. The law is the law, and we need to know how to work the law because there's no not using the law. You're using it whether you believe it or not. You don't get up in the morning and go, I've decided not to use gravity today. I don't know that I believe it. I'm not going to use it. I think it's selfish to use it. I think that whatever happens is God's will. I'm not going to use gravity because I'm spiritual, right? You're using it. So it's the same thing with the mental law. So if you say, oh, I'm not going to say what I want because that's not spiritual, I'm going to let it up to God, there's no such God. If you're not consciously deciding, you're just subconsciously deciding. There's no infinite being that's deciding for you. You are using law no matter what, period. So, given that, then we go back again to, but how do we want to use the law? Because that's what gives life meaning. And it is love that we want to use to activate the law. Because then we live in that state of not my peace and joy and goodness is all contingent on what happens. It's that no matter what happens, I know it's all good. So let's look at two big people who used the law. Hitler used the law super efficiently. And he used all the aspects of it, and he knew just how to do it. So you look at, he would have done great in this age. If Hitler were alive today, he would have a reality show and a fragrance. He would have 10 million Twitter followers and an Instagram page that was off the charts because he knew how to use everything. He had all of those. He knew how to use banners and mottos to bend people's minds. Look at his troops. People love a uniform and uniformity and organize, and especially because at the time that Hitler came in, it was after so much poverty that people were really looking for somebody who looked like they knew what they were doing and who was saying, I'm going to fix the outer realm so that you will be okay. And then he had his troops marching. They're all attractive. We like a nice attractive person, don't we? So they were all the Hitler youth who looked good in a uniform, marching and all the mottos and using all of this stuff to create his vision. Now let's look at Jesus. What a horrible, horrible team. 12 dudes who couldn't agree on anything, who didn't listen to most of what he said and argued with them. He had no clear business model. Right? And his whole thing was, oh, we can't change anything out here. We're not going to fix anything out here. This is why I tell people, Jesus had no social movement at all. He said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. He said nothing about fixing the world. He said, oh, you'll always have the poor with you. It's always going to be like this. Why? When people say, like this shooting that went on and people are shocked, why are you shocked? Cain killed Abel. 4 people in the whole world, and one of them says, the two of us cannot get along. One of us has got to go. Right? This is an ancient hatred. So it's not surprising when these things happen. It's surprising they don't happen more. When people are talking about there's so much more, I'm like, with the amount of people that are in the world, it's shocking so little of it happens. Cain killed Abel. 4 people on the planet. The planet's not big enough for you and me. Right? So Jesus said, don't worry about the world. The world is just the constant play of drama, up and down, up and down, up and down. Right? In the world you'll have tribulation. Fear not, for I've overcome the world, and you can overcome the world too. Right? And so his message was, I mean, if you look, like, I'm sure Hitler was just constantly, the next thing we're going to do, and the next thing, and he had goals to achieve, and he knew all this stuff that was about the outer world. Jesus had goals too, and they were about like, oh, let's go over there, they're having a party. Is that a wedding? Yeah, let's go over there, okay, we'll talk to some people. Oh, this guy, oh yeah, we'll heal you. And then, is there more wine? Oh, I'll make some, don't worry. Right? He didn't go out deliberately healing people. If he was somewhere and someone needed healing, you want to be healed? Okay, great. Right? There was no social movement about Jesus. It was an inner movement. Right? It was about, don't worry about fighting the world. The world just goes up and down, up and down, up and down all the time. Right? You cannot find your happiness in the world. You can find your happiness within. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Right? There will be wars and rumors of wars. Right? There's always going to be this stuff going on. But that's not where, even when the storm was happening and he was sleeping, they were like, wake up, oh my God, the storm is going. He was like, be still. Just be still. And then the storm. That's all these are metaphors. The Bible's not a history book. We don't even know if Jesus existed. These are stories about the archetype of humankind. Right? That peace, be still. We're saying that to the psyche. Peace, be still. Right? Know where your strength lies. When Maya Angelou wrote that book, Wouldn't Take Nothing for My Journey Now, she said it was based on what they called the spirituals, the old-time spirituals that they would sing, that the slaves would sing in the cotton fields. And she said, the only power that we had was spiritual power. The only power that we had is spiritual power. But listen, that's the only power there is. That's what we just read in Joel Goldsmith, when he said, when you understand that all the power of the world is not power, now you've got power. But then he'll go on further and say, it's not even power, because you don't need power. Because if you had power, it would mean power over something, and there's nothing for it to be over. Right? He keeps taking you deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, which is why it took people a year to read the freaking book. Because you start thinking, oh yeah, it's only spiritual power, and then he even takes that away from you. Like, what do you need power for? You only need power if you're afraid of something. If you're not afraid of anything, you don't even need power. That's the real deal. It's like, oh yeah, I was trying to get power so I'd be safe, because I thought I wasn't safe. But I don't need any power. When I understand how life operates, I don't even need power. I'm not resisting the world. This was, Ernest Holmes would quote Lao Tzu. That was like the main, you know what I love about Ernest Holmes is that he was so into hype that if you ever listened to, he wasn't doing it from that place, but if you ever listened to his talks, he would always say things like, Lao Tzu, the greatest mind that the East ever brought forth. Emerson, the most profound writer who ever, so that you were all, Lao Tzu. But he would usually only have one line of any of them. So the one of Lao Tzu's that he would say all the time was about inaction. Was the all thing he would say, and this is his version of the quote, was, to the man who practices inactivity, all things are possible. That it's an inner movement. It's not about an outer act of power. That's really what any kind of affirmation or treatment work is. That's why, religious science is based on treatment work, and why Ernest Holmes said that the treatment never leaves the practitioner's mind. The treatment never leaves the practitioner's mind. We're not putting it out there in the universe. We say that in a way to help us, but we're not. There's nowhere out there to put it. It's not going anywhere. That we are the universe. I am the magical universe. The treatment never leaves my mind. That's where all creation happens, right here. Then I just get out of the way. Hurry up, get out of the way. Get out of the way fast. It's like, do the treatment, and so it is. Right? You just jump and get out of the way. Right? So that's just a signifying to yourself, get out of the way, because stuff's about to unfold. Like, it may not look the way you thought it was going to look, but there it is. It's just, that's the way that it operates. It's like, when you drop something, it just falls. That's gravity, that's the law. As soon as you say, just get out of the way. And like I said, when something comes up, you might say, that's not the open door. That's just your resistance. That's all, it's just the resistance of like, all right, peace, be still. Let me be with this for a while. Before my no comes right up, no, I'm not doing that. Like, let me reflect upon this a while. Let me just be with this and see how I feel and let it unfold. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so make sure there's nothing else I wanted to tell you here. Oh, the spirits. The spirits. Oh my God, the spirits. I have to tell you, since I moved, the book, The Crabby Angels Chronicles, was all written in that apartment in Palm Springs. Because that's where the spirit, that's why I like to get back there, because I feel it all there. As soon as I get there, I just feel the ancient, and I can see them all. And there's all this whole motley crew of spirit guides. There's this whole brotherhood that all wear Hawaiian shirts. They're all these party dudes, and they were the Crabby Angels when I was doing that book, and that was 101 essays too. But there's all these, so one of the things that they did in this apartment that they changed was, and I don't know why they did this, it's so, well, you know how you don't know things till later. Like, I'll know eventually. I don't know yet. The little row that I live in, I have a whole second talk starting, I'm sorry. So there's this whole row, they're like, it's another place where it's a bunch of complexes, and I'm in a one-bedroom, and the one-bedrooms they call bungalows, because the two bedrooms are double-deckers where there's an apartment above you and an apartment below you. But the one-bedrooms are separated where there's like 5 on here and 5 on here, and then a pool in the middle. And so the row that I'm in, I was thinking of it, it's like death row, because it seems like, because everybody there seems like, oh, I don't know how long that person's going to be around, because just of the people in this row. And it was so funny, because yesterday, I gave myself a year to live. Now, I'll tell you why in a minute. But let me finish this other story first. So one of the things that they did in this apartment that I don't know yet why, he told me that they did it, I don't know why, but they put automatic sensors, light sensors, in the kitchen and in the bathroom. So as soon as you walk into the apartment, the kitchen light comes on. It's like, bam, you're home. Okay, and so I thought, well, maybe it's because it's death row, and they're like, these people are coming in. It's like, oh, at least they don't have to turn on the light, they can get in there. And then the bathroom light is the same way. And so the bathroom, of course, is part of the bedroom. And I've slept there like 4 nights or whatever. But the longer I'm there, the more I'm just getting weirder. And get ready, I'm just going to get so weird now. Like, I don't mean today, I mean ongoing. It's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder. But, so I just am relaxing into the weirdness. I'm a step away from the caftan and possibly an Indian headdress, and I don't even know what else. But the spirits are coming. So then last night during the night, the bathroom light came on by itself 3 times from the sensors. And every time I was like, Jesus is getting up to pee. Now I have to go in because he doesn't turn off the damn light when he comes out. So, but all this stuff has started, like I said, everything with the move has been perfectly orchestrated in this way of like all of these unseen hands of we're doing it, we don't care, we're getting you a concierge for this, someone's gonna take your furniture, they're gonna refund you all your money and plus pay for your chairs, and all of these things have been unfolding and the spirits are alive. The spirits are alive, they're coming, they're here. So if your lights go on in your house tonight, just know it's because you were here today. Because listen to this. This is what I want to, okay, I have 2 more things to say. So this is one of the things that I really want you to get, because the world is obsessed with darkness. And what you have to understand is that to the world, and particularly to the religious world, the only real power is evil. And the way that you can tell this is through the movies and TV shows that we have. Because good has only natural power in the story, and evil has supernatural power. So, have you ever noticed that? There's no supernatural good power. There's just the human being conquering a supernatural evil. So there are demons, and it's just the human against them. The human has no light power. That's because the world believes more in Satan than in God. And most churches are about Satan, not God, because we believe that God is impotent and useless, and evil is powerful and pervasive. It's completely false, because New Thought says the exact opposite. There is no such thing as evil. There is only good. This is all New Thought is based on this. This is why Joel Goldsmith pounds over and over again, this is nothing but a belief in two powers. This is why Ernest Holmes, when you start out treatment, it is there is only one power. Everything else is a belief in two powers. That even A Course in Miracles, if you just read the first page, you don't need to read the rest of that whole tome. It says right there, there's only one power, but there seems to be fear. It's an illusion. The Course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So it says there is no fear, there is no evil, but you'll live your life fighting an imaginary demon, so go for it. Right? So you notice that. So what happens is that when these things go on, like in the normal mind, when the lights go on like that, you make movies like Paranormal. And you video at night and you see there's a demon turning on those lights. Well, there's no such thing. So if something supernatural is turning on the light, it has to be an angel or a spirit guide or the Christ consciousness or something else. But that's not what you see in the movies and television. What you see is there is no power in light. Light is impotent. God is impotent. Evil has all the power. So you have to reverse that every time that comes up in your mind. You have to. Otherwise, you are complicit with, this is what I say, we have to get to the point where we are no longer complicit in our own murder. The consciousness that's trying to kill us with thought over and over and over. So yesterday I gave myself a year to live, and here's why. You may not want to ever come back again after all the things I've told you today, but I gave myself 1 year to live because I realized that this was my freedom. You know, Byron Katie says, if you want stress on purpose, get a future. Because almost every fear we have is about later. And so I thought, here's something I used to tell people, because this is one of those phenomenons where you'll hear these stories from time to time, where somebody has some illness, they go to the doctor says, we've done everything we can do, go home, there's no point in having any more treatments, there's no point in fighting them, just go home and enjoy your life. Eat whatever you want, because it's not going to make any difference anymore. And we don't know how much time you have, but enjoy whatever time is left. And so they go home to live out their last 6 or 8 or 10 months, and 20 years they're still around. Because they stopped fighting their disease, and they stopped all the stress of trying to stay alive. Do you know how much stress you have every day trying to stay alive? Right? Just I'm trying to stay alive. I don't know if I can eat that. Will I be able to eat that and stay alive? We're so afraid of food. I can't eat that. Should I eat? That's bad. We have all this evil connotations about food. It's a sinful delight. Right? It's a forbidden treat. It's all the bad food. So we're trying to stay alive. We're trying so hard to stay alive. I'm trying to stay alive. I have to save some money so I can stay alive. Because I'll need money, because although I stay alive, I will be out on the street. Right? And so I thought, what if I had been sent to Palm Springs to die? Like, what if someone said to me, you know what? Get out of LA. It's too stressful. I mean, I love it there, but there's a lot of energy going on, the traffic and stuff like that. Go somewhere and live your last year or so where there's just open road and there's nobody on it. You just drive in 114-degree heat with the air conditioning on. You know, like, just go and live your last year. And I thought, okay, I'm going to live that way now. Like, I just don't know how long. Like, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. But I'm just going to go and make peace with everything. And just nothing frickin' matters anymore. When you think about losing weight, you think, what for? why would I need to lose these 10 pounds so that when they burn my body, who cares about that? Like, or you think about the thing you have a resentment about, you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right, whatever, fine. Because, I only have a year, I'm not going to fight about that. Right? Or somebody, oh, maybe we should get along. Why? I only have a year. I don't have to have lunch with you. Right? Because, later on, there is no later on. Right? You just totally, oh my God, life is just so, when you are not planning for this fictional future, then you're just, like, one of the things that I was doing was, as I would go through, like, the things that I wanted were in LA for the last 2 days. So I'd be like, I want to do this, and then I think, like, I don't want to go buy another one when I have one in LA. And then when I gave myself a year to live, I was like, oh, what the hell, I'm buying another one. Who cares? I may not even ever go back and get that shit in LA. Right? And then you're just happy now. I mean, what I've just told you would fit on one sheet of paper, right? You could just take that and burn your copy of The Power of Now and all its nonsense about the pain body and just go, oh, yeah, I have a year to live. That's the power of now. The power of now is I've just got a limited amount of time, and I intend to fully enjoy this limited amount of time. Now, here's what's amazing, was for dinner last night, I had Dairy Queen. Because that's what you do when you only have a year to live. You're going to have the salad when you only have a year to live? Why do you have the salad when you only have a year to live? What the hell's the point of that? Well, I'm going to eat that kale. I don't think so. I'm not going to eat the kale. Right? I'm going to have, Now, here's what's amazing is that if I had not done this shift in my mind, then what I know about myself now is that I would have had the kale salad, not the kale because I never touched the stuff, but I would have had something that in my mind was comparable to that. Then later I would have gone to Dairy Queen and swung by McDonald's on the way home. And felt really bad because now I was trying to stay alive and now I'm worse off than if I would have been ready to die, right? So instead, now that I'm not, I just have one vanilla ice cream cone, big deal, right? But you understand the mindset of when you let go of this trying to stay alive. I'm just trying to stick around because maybe it'll happen. What? I don't know. It might happen. I want to be here if it does. Right? Instead of like, what? Just that. To me, that's just like how wonderful that is. Just let go of having a future, of later on and then and whatever and da-da-da-da. Because, like 10 years ago, that guy right there was trying to make a nice life for himself. This guy has resigned from that. This guy is just like, wear the tracksuit. You don't need new pictures. At some point, you can just have caricatures drawn. Doesn't matter, right? That's the freedom of just letting that all go, is because there's so much bullshit in the world. I'm going to try and wind up here, but one of the last bastions of the world was kind of the spiritual realm. And now it's been so polluted, I call it Oprah-fied, polluted, because now we have the horror of something called spiritual celebrities, where it's seen as a career. And that is completely ridiculous. To have a spiritual career is just about the worst thing that could ever befall you or happen to you. To where now you think, oh, I used to love cooking shows. Now, let me just explain to you that in the move that I just made, I gave away all my pots and pans because I realized that all I do in my kitchen is dust it. I haven't even made a sandwich in 5 years, okay? So everything I get is basically prepared by others. So I like to watch cooking shows because it's so soothing. And because, now this still goes into the talk that I was talking about, is because most of these people that you used to see, you ever watch Nigella? Nigella, if you ever get to see any of Nigella's cooking shows, oh my God. First of all, well, she's this British woman who just loves food, and she talks about it in the most sensual way in the world. It just sounds so like she's just like, oh, the jade green, smooth silkiness of the whatever, and you're like, oh my God, I just got wet. But anyhow, it's just like, you just don't even know. She just is so, and she loves her food, and she's just amazing. And so, but one of the things about cooking shows is that you could see that they were infusing love into everything. They were cooking because they loved food. When you would watch Giada De Laurentiis and her Italian cooking show, she would talk my grandmother's recipes and this is the way and I've done it, and she talks all about her family and all about this and all. So there's this love of food and the preparation. And so for years, but see, the way the world has changed now, the way because of what we have with social media, and because, remember, again, when I say this is a fringe movement, that's good. See, we think something, we should popularize it. It will ruin it. It will get worse and worse the more it gets popularized. It will get worse as it has gotten worse and worse. As we keep bringing in things that are not new thought, we keep bringing in Buddhism and we keep bringing in all this other stuff that really muddies the water and makes it much, much worse. Remember, popularity, shit draws flies. The Kardashians are probably the most famous people in America because shit draws flies. So the fact that something is hugely popular usually means it's nonsense, right? So you look at something like cooking shows that were all about love and infusing things with love. There's hardly any of those left now because it's become like everything else. They're all competition shows now because the ethos of the country is finite resources, not enough to go around, only one person wins. So now it's not about, I love this, watch the care that I put into this. It's, hurry up and make it, he's gonna win! So we've made something like more stressful and competitive and disturbing, right? So that now this is bled into the spiritual life, right? So it becomes like, okay, how are you marketing? The worst thing to do is start marketing your spiritual stuff. All you want to do is let people know it's there. That's all. Like the value of a magazine like this is not you should come. It's did you know this is happening? You're either attracted or you're not. That's all. You just want to let people know. You just say, I'm here and this is what's happening. And if it's for you, come. And if it's not for you, don't come. It's not, how can I get people to come? How can I convince them? How can I sell them on it? What can I promise them? That's why so many of these spiritual things promise people things now. Right? Change your life. We're going to fix this up. You're going to come in and it's going to be all this and we're going to do this for you and it's all going to be all this kind of stuff. So you see all of these spiritual celebrities now. Right? So one of the things in moving to Palm Springs was to be able to not know what anyone else is doing. I don't want to know what they're doing over there. I don't want, when OWN did, this was when I knew it was like, okay, we've really lost it now, was they started a show called Help Desk. Now, again, this is why I don't get invited anywhere, is because I say this shit, but I don't care. I wear a tracksuit in Palm Springs. But they started this show called Help Desk, which was where they take someone like Deepak Chopra or Carolyn Mace or something and put them downtown in front of a card table and draw a crowd and say, okay, you can ask the expert one question. Well, this is just a step above carnival barking of like just trying to just throwing shit against the wall to see what's going to stick again because we have to sell this stuff. So the spirituality has become in many ways like multi-level marketing, right? We're just trying to get people in. We're just trying to, instead of saying like, no, it's good that we're the fringe. It's good that we're off to the side because what we want is people who come by attraction, not promotion. So there's no such thing as a spiritual career, that you would only want to do something like this because you love to do it. And whoever shows up, that's the perfect people. And you only want to make sure that people know about it. You're not saying you would be helped by this. I don't know what the hell would help you. I don't have any idea what you need. No idea at all. Like, I have no idea why I've been doing this for 30 years and people keep coming. But as long as people keep coming, I keep doing it. And frankly, if people don't come, I do it at home alone. I'm giving myself the exact same talk, right? I always say, I just talk to myself and I make people pay to listen in. That's just sort of what's happening. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I don't want you to go home and do what I said. That is none of my business. As soon as I get into that, I'm suffering. Absolutely, totally suffering if I'm trying to have an effect on you. The most I'm trying to do is punch up a couple of points that I'll say, write this down, think about this. Then if you just say, that's all horseshit on the way home, good for you. Now at least you know what you think, right? But the idea that this is something where, oh, there's a career, and there's a this, and there's a that, and so has this many Twitter followers, and somebody has this many Instagram, and somebody does this on Facebook. It's like, well, isn't that why we left corporate America? Was so we wouldn't have to do all that stuff. Now we're spiritually competing in order to get our product out there. That's why I say Jesus is such a wonderful example, because even though he had a horrible brand, terrible catchphrases, his team was for shit, 2,000 years later, still there it is, right? Still having an effect, but only if you stick to what he said. Don't read what Paul said. A lot of people who think they're Christians are Paulists. They're quoting Paul all the time, and Paul was just like you and me. He was a human being, and sometimes he said good shit, and other times he didn't. He was just, all Paul's teachings are just letters that he fired off to people. Like, he's trying to run all these groups of crazy human beings, and so he would just fire off letters to them. So the letter is based on his mood that day. So imagine if someone based a religion on your emails. That would not be good, right? If 2,000 years later, people were saying, well, in this email, Jacob said that they were all a bunch of assholes. Therefore, thou art assholes. Right? Because just because I was in a bad mood that day, right? But if you stick to the teachings of Jesus, just what he said, that's when you get yourself a little red letter version of the Bible, and just read the red letters. Don't even read anything else, just read the red letters. I'm like, blessed are the this, blessed are the that, forgive and you love your enemies, pray for like all that stuff. That's like, oh yeah, that's more soothing. Let's just stay there. Let's just forget about any kind of movement. But so I'm saying this about spirituality, but it is equally true of every career. That whatever you're doing, if you are infusing your work, your job, infusing it with love because you love to do it, that is a light that will attract to you. And the more you try to sell it, the more you'll hate the business itself. Unless your business is selling, and you happen to be good at sales and you love selling, then that's what you should be doing. There's some people who just love to sell things. Like they just love, and so that's what they should be doing. But if your business is something and you're trying to sell the business, then you will start to hate the business. This is why over and over again, as I've become obsessed with love, I realize that it's in everything. It's everything. It's everything. Am I doing this because I love this or because I think I should? Am I doing this because I love this or because I'm trying to stay alive another day? Right? All of these stressful. I'm here to teach you about peace and love. Right? I know people like that. I know spiritual teachers who are so stressed out that they're ready to have a breakdown any second, who are going to tell me about peace and love. And you cannot give what you don't have, right? If you're trying to sell something, trying to have a brilliant, so many spiritual people are trying to have a brilliant tweet, and we'll give you the 4 steps to this and the 8 steps to that and the 7 steps. That's why we said that Oprah magazine is so stressful. It's supposed to be so soothing. It's so stressful. Live your best life now. That sounds stressful. So live your best life. You'll live your best life now. How about I've really embraced my mediocre life. I'm just living my most mediocre life now. It feels so good to embrace mediocrity. That's a terrible thing to say to Americans. Be mediocre. Just go for the middle. I've slept my way to the middle. I'm staying right here. Staying right here. Slept my way right straight to the middle. Right? I've confused and upset you enough for today. Let's pray. Once again, we close our eyes, take a deep breath. Once again, aligning in that oneness that is infinite love, perfect wisdom, infinite intelligence and creativity and all-knowingness. That as we surrender into it, we don't surrender our personality or our beingness. We are all unique within this oneness, and we were created to be unique. We don't have to be different than we are. But what we do surrender is our manipulation and control, our fear, our resistance, our trying to make things work, our trying to hold things together. Because we trust this infinite intelligence. We don't hope, we know that everything is moving in the right direction as we simply get out of the way and keep our thoughts aligned. The highest, the best, the most beautiful, the most limitless. We are aligning with all of this, knowing that we are good, that life is good, that God is good, that the world is good, that there is nothing that is denied us, that right now our greater good is unfolding in infinitely mysterious and wonderful ways, that our hearts are opening as they have never opened before, that our mind is expansive and we think clearly, that our bodies are whole, that there is nothing lacking in us, that all the resources that we need are here and now, and even more are moving in alignment to us and for us and through us, that it is not selfish to be happy and to thrive and to have joy and to see things in this wonderful way, to not focus on the pain and the suffering of the world, but instead be of true help by being a beacon of light. We cannot give joy if we are depressed. We cannot give peace if we are filled with chaos. We cannot give love if we are filled with fear. So we align ourselves with the world of the Christ, the world within, the world of vision. We now let it be manifest through us as we step back, get out of the way, and then walk through the open doors. We give great thanks for having been drawn together by this powerful consciousness this morning. We allow it now to use our hands and our feet and our voices to direct us and guide us, to use us joyfully. For this we are so thankful. And together we all say, Amen. Thank you so much for coming. Have a fabulous month. Thank you. Thanks so much. My books are in the bookstore. The new book is in the bookstore, and I'm going to be out here for a little while. If anybody wants me to sign them, I'll sign them. And that's it. See you next month.